Hello, this is AlexPlusLEDs, and in this tutorial I will be showing how to convert the Guy kit from a 3C-cell battery pack and a 4AA battery pack into either USB power or just a single 3C-cell battery pack. Because I know that this whole arrangement is kind of bulky and it's a little bit inconvenient, so I made this tutorial just to make this kit a little bit easier. So let's start. So this is what it looks like when completed. So I have a USB battery bank on the left, and I have the USB plug soldered onto the LED kit, and as you can see, the LEDs lights up. The only caveat is that this battery bank needs to be able to supply around 2 amps just to be safe. So there you have it, 2 amps supplied, and everything works fine. Alternately, you could have this powered by 3C cells and just not use the 4AA's, and you could see that this also works. So here's a little bit of theory of how the kit works right now with the 4AA's and the 3C cells and how we want to modify it. So we have 6 volts from the 4AA's going into 5-volt regulator that provides 5 volts to the microcontroller, and it also powers the chins and the ears. And then we have 4.5 volts from the 3C cells going into a 3.3 volt regulator, and that powers the sidebars. So the power dissipated by the 5 volt regulator is negligible because minimal current goes through it. However, the 3.3 volt regulator does use quite a bit of current. It uses somewhere around 1 amp. And let's do a quick calculation to calculate how much power is being dissipated as heat in the 3.3 volt regulator. So you have 4.5 volts minus 3.3 volts gives us a 1.2 volt drop across the regulator, and then multiply that by the 1 amp, and we get around 1.2 watts dissipated by the whole circuit in the 3.3 volt regulator. So let's redraw that diagram, and I will show you how we are going to modify the whole circuit. So what we're going to go ahead and do is just not use 4.5 volts and 6 volts, but we're going to use 5 volts, and we're just going to bypass the 5 volt regulator like that. So instead of the 5 volts for the 3.3 volt regulator as we used before, we're going to use 5 volts. So we have 5 volts minus 3.3 volts gives us 1.7 volts, and we're still using that 1 amp figure. So with this modification, the circuit will dissipate around 1.7 watts of power. And that's around half of a watt more than previously. Doing this modification will generate excess heat, so if you intend on leaving your helmet on like this, on the mode that turns all the sidebar LEDs on, the control board will actually get pretty hot. So it gets up to 75 C or around 166 Fahrenheit, which is pretty hot. You don't really want to touch your face on that. So be careful, don't leave the LEDs on the full on configuration if you do this modification for extended periods of time. The PCB will get hot, and that is a little bit dangerous. It's not going to damage anything. The voltage regulators will shut down if the temperature rises above a certain threshold, but you just don't want to burn yourself by doing this. Here are the parts and tools required. Obviously, you need your control board. You will also need wire cutters, flush cutters. You'll need wire strippers. You'll need a soldering iron. You will need some solder. You will also need a USB cable to sacrifice, and you will need a little bit of wire. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to cut off the leads of the 5 volt regulator down there. So just snip them with your flush cutters, and then take your soldering iron, and we're going to go ahead and desolder the tab right there. It's recommended to apply a little bit of solder to help transfer the heat from the soldering iron to the whole pad where the voltage regulator is soldered. That comes off pretty easily. And I'm going to just retin the pads where that came off of to make them look a little bit nicer. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is strip and tin a little piece of wire. And we're going to go ahead and solder the piece of wire from the top of the voltage regulator pin to the 4.5 volt input, as I am doing here. So make sure not to mess this up, otherwise it will not work. And once that's soldered, that's pretty much the whole modification. All you need to do is just solder on the USB cable. So take your USB cable, and we're going to go ahead and strip off the black outer insulation to get to the wires inside. And once the insulation is off, you should see a red wire and a white wire, or perhaps a red wire and a black wire. We're going to strip the leads, and we're going to tin the wires like so. And then we're going to go ahead and solder the red wire to the 4.5 volt connection like this. And we're going to solder the white wire or black wire to the GND connection. It doesn't matter which GND connection you choose, and either will work. And then let's plug this into our power bank, and voila, the whole thing works. So now I'm going to show how to use the 3C-cell battery holder. It's pretty much the same procedure. I'm going to desolder the USB cable, however, I'm going to leave that little extra wire that we soldered on in place. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is solder the black wire from the 3.3 volt battery holder to the GND and the red wire to the 4.5 volts connection. And after loading 3 C-cell batteries into the holder, you should see that the whole LED display works. And that's it. So that's it. That's the end of the tutorial. Thank you for watching. Can you do me a quick favor? In the comments below, can you please let me know if you like the new video format? Is the lighting okay? Are the voiceovers okay? Anything else? Am I explaining too little? Am I explaining too much? What do you guys think? Just let me know. If you can, give me a thumbs up. If not, leave it in the comments below why I don't deserve a thumbs up. But that's it. Have a nice day.